Hey everyone, it's Steven. In my previous video, I presented the project where I intend to build retractable ceilings for the bedrooms of the church house that we just purchased. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go watch that video and things will make a lot more sense. So at this point, we have an understanding of the three main aspects of the problem: light blocking, sound blocking, and visual privacy. So now, what's the first step in the design process? It's time to get creative, right? Let's start making some CAD drawings, buying parts, cutting and bolting things together, wiring up sensors and motors, and see what works. I kind of did start doing that actually. Over a year ago, I came up with a basic design, did a bunch of research on parts, ordered motors, bearings, power supplies, struts, and paneling to start prototyping. Turns out this was a mistake. I was jumping ahead in the process and skipping over some really important steps. Even though I understood the basics of the problem, I hadn't taken the time to ask the right questions to really understand the constraints. In other words, what I should have done is spend some time to understand the requirements that dictate exactly what this contraption must do and how well it needs to do it. If I had continued down the road of just building a prototype, I might have come up with a design that quote-unquote worked, successfully installed it, only to find out that I didn't really solve the problem. So now I don't even know if I'm going to use these parts. Alright, out of the workshop, back to the office. So, requirements. How do we create those? Well, I could just start by brainstorming, trying to think of everything that it needs to do, and writing them down. I'm the designer, so I understand best how it needs to work, right? Well, I'm still missing a few things by doing it that way. See, I'm not just building these ceilings for me. There are others who are going to be affected by this design. Let's call them stakeholders. I should probably go find out what their needs and opinions are about it. Okay, so who are my stakeholders? Well, let's talk about the most important ones first. The reason I'm doing this project in the first place is so that we can improve the experience of our guests. So I could ask, well, what do my guests care about? Again, I could try to brainstorm, just put myself in their place and conjecture about what they want. Or I could actually go ask them. It's really important to go talk to your stakeholders. So I'm going to go and talk to my friends Dylan and Kayla, who have actually stayed at the church house.
Hello.
Hello.
This is my friends Dylan and Kayla.
Hello.
And so you guys are familiar with the layout of the church house. Mm-hmm. So you guys have stayed there. And I believe the two of you did stay in the bedroom that had the ceiling of Correct. The five of them. But you do remember the other ones, right? Like
right.
what they...
Yes, that it was open.
Yeah.
Them, yes.
Yeah. Let's say that you were staying there with a larger group of people. How would you foresee that working with the bedrooms as they are?
All right, let's pause for 1 second. One question that's always worth asking for any project is, do I actually even need to build this? Is this even a problem to be solved, or am I taking the wrong approach entirely? I didn't want to just outright ask them this question, so I haven't actually told them yet what I was planning to do at the beginning of this interview. I just wanted to get their unbiased opinion about the state of things and what they might do to solve the problem.
If an entire family was there, our children love to infringe on the boundaries of all the others. So I would foresee them trying to climb up, peek. They would be tossing stuff over. That's worst case scenario, children. As far as, like you're saying, people, the same thing could happen, that somebody might just be up in the balcony. Somebody else may not remember or know that they're up in the balcony. So while they may change in what they think is the privacy of their room, it could be the exact opposite. So to me, without the ceiling there, it seems like there's a whole bunch of things that could go wrong, even if there's no ill intent.
Okay. How comfortable would you be staying there? Let's say if there was another couple in one of the other rooms. Maybe you, like, is there things you could do to kind of accommodate that? Like say, okay, no one in the balcony, between bedtime and until everyone's up in the morning.
Specifically, like staying in that bedroom, or
If you were in one of the open, if you were in the open bedrooms,
because there's only one that's like visually you can see down into it.
Mhm.
The other ones, I suppose, sound would be more of the
Mhm.
issue, which I guess depending on how like long you're staying there, it's like, well, if you can hear the neighbor snoring for one night, then
right?
that's fine. But if you have to live there permanently, then it's like, well, this is our new normal. It might depend on the person. For me, I don't think it would be a big enough deterrent to be like, oh, it ruined the whole weekend or
Yes.
something because the sound travels.
Mhm.
But maybe some people are pickier.
While you could think of a whole of awful, scenarios, or man, all the things we'd have to do to fix that, you could just even the same for us. We will have sleep masks, or we'll have hearing protection,
Mhm.
which we'll give to the kids, just something to muffle, some of the noise, so that way, if we're in a hotel and we can hear everything around us, well, it's kind of the same predicament. And
Yeah.
the easiest way to fix it is, all right, get $5 hearing protection and a $10 or $15 sleep mask. So that would be a pretty easy fix.
Yeah.
But I do agree that for me, whenever I've gone to any place and I can clearly hear conversations in the next room, it does not add to the experience for me. It's always a subtraction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the light? Like someone wants to go to bed and there's other people still in the main room.
Okay, I got you. That's a good point.
I guess we haven't tried.
Yeah, I guess you've only
True,
yeah.
we always
We've
look
only-
at the same
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And once again, we'll keep coming back to this. The sleep mask or the hearing protection is kind of the end all.
That's true. So what I'm working on is a design for a retractable ceiling.
Okay.
Mhm.
That my goal is to solve the privacy, the light, and the sound problems
Wow. Okay.
with that. So I guess, imagine that I had that in the bedroom, something like this. You don't have to think about exactly how it would work
Mhm.
or what it would look like, the mechanisms of it or
Okay.
anything. But if you were a guest in that room, like what would your ideal experience be if those problems we just talked about didn't have to be problems?
So to just make a roof appear or in the room,
Mhm.
basically, or ceiling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be for me, say like at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night when we would normally shut down anyway. Whether it's a switch or something on the phone that would activate it, that would be, the what I would want is great at this time. Don't even have to worry about it. The retractable ceiling goes, and then we can undo it in the morning if we want.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, would you walk in, you could, ideally you'd want to flip a switch, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
Not like pull a thing or crank a
Because
crank.
while we might be able to, you might get somebody in their 70s or 80s or some kind of injury that just can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a switch is ideal.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be good.
Pause again. So coming up here is a good example of me hypothesizing a requirement of something that I thought would be cool for it to do. But when I got someone else's opinion on it, their valuation of it was different than mine.
Would you ever want to have it do something like be able to move halfway over? So let's say you were in that first bedroom, you block the view, but still kind of have
Mhm.
the window visible.
I think that if it's a question of would it be beneficial if you could do a partial covering?
Well, I was thinking that would be like it would go full, but to be able to
Yeah.
have it stop halfway, you could kind of move it to the
To the
point that
amount
you
that you
want
want.
to. Yeah.
I think it would. It sounds like it might make the task of creating it more complicated without it actually adding a whole lot of like
Okay.
practical use to the experience. Like if I can't really think of a time where I would really just wish I had half of a ceiling.
Yeah.
It's either you want one or
That's true.
you don't.
Okay.
That's kind of what I
Yeah, that makes sense.
would think.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll keep you up to date on how it's going as I'm progressing.
Thank you.
Alright, so who else has a stake in this? My wife. Good answer. We talked a lot about this over the past 2 years, so I think I know what she wants. But if I know anything about marriage, I shouldn't assume I understand what's in her head. I should go ask her directly about it. Okay, so we've talked to some of the guests, and I think they validated pretty much what we already were thinking are the main core requirements, which are, of course, you have to be able to cover up so that you can't see in. That's the most important one. The light, they said you could, use eye masks. We really don't want to have people do that. Sound, you can use earplugs, but we don't want to have people do that. That's not really conducive to the atmosphere we're trying to create of rest and comfort and not having to worry about anything or work around anything. So I think those are pretty set as the core requirements. But I want to brainstorm what are the other aspects of it that could affect the guest experience.
I think my biggest concern is for the guest's perception of safety. Of course, safety is number one, but outside of that is the guests. When they view this, are they going to think, oh, there's a folding thing on top of my head. I hope this doesn't fall. So safety, of course, is number one, but also the perception of safety. So it's low noise moving on the track, right? If it's super loud and sounds like it's sticking across the track. Yeah, I think that's a big one for me.
Okay, so we're on a roll thinking of all the things we don't want it to do, all the bad things that could happen. What else is there? What else is there that could possibly go wrong with this?
If I'm a user, what if I break it? Yeah. If I am using it and something happens where it gets stuck, or it doesn't start, or it stays stuck in a position that is kind of precariously above in the middle of the room. As a guest, being, welcomed into this home, I'm gonna feel, and this is my personality only, so, take that for what it's worth, but I'm going to feel pretty uncomfortable reaching out to the owner in the middle of my stay saying, hey, oops, sorry, this broke. Even if I didn't do it, I wouldn't want to inconvenience them when I'm being offered a stay. So I would want at least something to ensure that it's not stuck in a position that's unsafe. So if it's stuck above my head or above the middle of the room, if there was a way to kind of manually override whatever has happened to bring it to a position that's resting or that's fully open without needing manual intervention by the owner, I would feel more comfortable and less like I'm inconveniencing.
That's going to be a tough one, I think, but take it into consideration. I won't outright reject any requirements. I just have a feeling this is going to be pretty tough. And this idea of if it breaks, then they can somehow get it into a position that's not hazard or that's not inconvenient to them.
Also to think about, what if they don't tell you? Are we gonna test the ceilings between every
we
stay?
could. Yeah, we could. Part of reliability is that you have a way of testing things so that you know if it's going to fail, it's going to fail during your testing, and you don't just leave it as a dice roll for when it's a really bad time. So I think that should be part of it, is the ability to test them and see, okay, is it still operating? At least we know at the start of when someone's coming that they're going to be working. But I don't know. I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep it in mind.
One of the things I'm thinking about is when you're walking into this amazing space and then you see something that might look a little mechanically different, interesting, something you haven't seen in a home before. I think one of the things that's going to be important is that it feels like an intentional, familiar part and design of the home. So I would say kind of a visually unobtrusive design as much as possible. So maybe hiding some of the height of the panels, or placing where the panels come together in a less open space.
Yeah, so trying to sequester it as much as possible away and make it feel like it blends in
Yeah.
as much as we can when it's open.
Yeah. And then, kind of going right alongside of that, it needs to be pretty simple to operate. So if you kind of walk in and you see something that's a clear visual cue, like a button on the wall, oh, hey, you push this to open the ceiling, you push the same thing to close the ceiling, something simple to operate, as minimalist and simplified in design as possible, using probably as familiar of mechanisms as possible for the user, so that they don't feel like they have to read a user manual to operate it.
That's true. Yeah. No one reads manuals.
No.
All right, now we're getting somewhere. Out of these two conversations, I got some feedback that was different than what I would have thought of on my own. So at this point, I'll take this input and I'll start formulating it into requirements. Okay, what I have here is a very basic requirements spreadsheet. If you've ever been in engineering, this will be familiar to you. And because I'm a nerd, I'm going to put an ID for all of my requirements instead of just writing them down as text, so I can track them later. So let's see. We're going to start with the basic ones. So we want to block the view from looking down from the balcony. So that's the critical one. We need to block the light, fully block light above into the bedrooms. I want sound, right? So we want to reduce sound level from the main room and other bedrooms. Let's see. We also need to keep that upward view open, right? Obviously, otherwise you could just put a whole ceiling on there. So don't block the upward view when open. One thing that both the guests and my wife mentioned were an automation. So have an automated opening mechanism. Okay, we're getting lots of requirements. We're gonna drag this down here, fill that in. All right, she also said easily operable without instructions is important. Safety, yeah, so safety, design, so we prevent falling off the track. Let's call it that. Or just falling down. The looks fits well into the aesthetic of the building. Reliability, that was mentioned. So we're just going to say, we'll call it high reliability. And what exactly that means, we'll figure out later. And I mentioned it should be testable. It should be low noise. We don't want it to be rattling all over the place. No noise during operation. Another thing my wife requested, that manual override. The one that I didn't like. Now, this one might seem a little silly and not really possible to formulate into a requirement, but I can't ignore this factor. Awesomeness. When people see this product, I want them to say, wow, that's amazing. How did they do that? This just feels like magic. So if you're an engineer, you know that feeling, right? I'm just going to add a goal. I probably won't call it a requirement. Should be awesome. Add to sense of wonder about the house. These requirements are not equally important. So I want to actually add a priority field over here. Let's say 1 to 5. And I'm going to rank these now. So now at this point, I can sort my requirements by how important they are from top to bottom. Now, I did think of a less obvious stakeholder that we absolutely can't forget: local regulators. Whatever I do has to be compliant with state and local building codes. So I phoned up the local building inspector, Roger. Now, I'd never met this guy before, and I was concerned that his response would be hesitancy, because this is an unusual project and maybe not covered by anything directly in these building codes, and therefore risky. But when I talked to him, explained what I was going to do, he expressed support for the idea. He thought it would even be an improvement to the property. He just said I would need to get a building permit. If I'm building something heavy, then I should give him some early drawings and estimates on the weight, and he would tell me what inspections might be needed to make sure I can structurally support this thing. So I'll just add to my requirements another one here: compliant to local and state codes and pass a building inspection. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. None of these requirements are too far outside of the realm of what I thought things were going to be. But suddenly I realized I'd forgotten a stakeholder, and that pretty much halted my plans in their tracks. See, this whole time as I was going through this process, I already had a design in my head. I've been thinking about this for practically the past 2 years, refining what I thought was going to be the ideal solution. It would be this high-tech thing involving sensors and Wi-Fi and motors, pretty much something I built entirely from scratch. But as I was thinking about one of the requirements that my wife brought up, the idea that we should have a manual override so people could open and close the ceilings if somehow the automated mechanism breaks. And my first response was, well, that's not really a problem. If something breaks, then I can just fix it. But then it hit me. This building has been standing since before my great-grandfather was born. And it's going to be probably standing there after I'm dead. Someday, I'm not going to own this house anymore. So the stakeholder that I've been missing is the next owners. If I want these ceilings to be a lasting part of the building, then I can't just design them to be maintainable by me. They have to be maintainable by anyone, or at least that they could hire an electrician or a handyman to fix them. Someday they will break. And if I don't design these to be repairable, they're going to be a big, stationary, useless object, an ugly part of this house that someone will have to pay money to rip out, or maybe not even buy the house in the first place because they get scared off by these unusual things. The implications on the design are far-reaching. It basically means the whole system needs to be as absolutely simple as possible, and it can't have any custom parts that aren't easily replaceable. That means none of my own software or electronics. See, those simply aren't built to last. Even if you think of a processor or circuit board that lasts for 20 years, this building has been standing for 140, and I hope it stands for 100 more. So, on that timescale, 20 years is nothing. That means this entire solution either has to be manual, or if it's automated, it needs to be built out of parts that are fully replaceable commercial off-the-shelf systems, like garage door motors, openers, tracks, stuff that's standardized to be replaced by a technician. So for my last requirement, I'm going to add use commercial off-the-shelf replaceable parts. Requirements are never done, but I think what I have is close enough that I can say I can responsibly move on to the design phase. I started with my own requirements. I talked to our guests, my wife as the co-owner, a building inspector, and I thought about what the next owner of the house would find important. So if I can meet the needs of all of these stakeholders, then I believe I can say I've effectively solved the problem. The next video is going to be fun. Not only do I get to go crazy brainstorming ideas for the design, but I actually do get to put my software skills to use. Hope to see you then.